Hello, good morning. You're welcome to News Review. First, the headlines. Tinubu redeploys Oyetola others. Appoints Niger Delta Minister as President inaugurates Cabinet. President orders NIMC boss to proceed on terminal vacation. Appoints Koka Odushote as replacement. Federal government assures delivery of Port Harcourt refinery by December to stop fuel importation by February 2024. Niger attack helicopter crash, 22 soldiers laid to rest as CDS vows to hunt down attackers. Abuja collapsed plaza, Wike orders arrest of landlord. 2023 polls, Chicago State University agrees to make Tinubu's academic records public if court orders. UK's National Crime Agency charges Alison Madueke for bribery, freezes her assets. Wike gives Chinese company 8 months ultimatum to complete Abuja Light Rail rehabilitation, demands effective service from FCTA, FCDA directors. Emefiele Yaro's arraignment stalled as former CBN governor opts for plea bargain. Railway vandalism. NSCDC arrests 14, impounds a rail scraps worth 1 billion naira. House of Reps holds National Summit on Students' Loan Act. Stakeholders present memoranda. NMA tightens screening at airport to prevent new COVID-19 variant in Nigeria. Lagos Assembly drops 17. Sanwo-Olu's commissioner nominees, confirms 22. Federal government, states, local government areas share 966 billion naira for July. Nigeria's GDP growth slows to 2.51% in second quarter 2023. Unemployment rate 4.1%, says the NBS. Controversy, criticism trail figures. Oil theft. Troops destroy illegal refinery in Delta. President Tinubu directs immediate resolution to disagreement with UAE on Emirates Airline visa issuance. Appeal courts give contradictory judgments on Labour Party national chairmanship. INEC ordered to recognize candidates presented by the Apapa faction. Labour Party's House of Reps member Sheyi Showunmi sacked by courts. AU suspends Niger from all its activities. Warns against foreign interventions in Africa. Demands release of deposed President Bazoum. ECOWAS has not declared war against Niger. Wana Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin, 9 others die in a private jet crash. Putin sends condolence, denies killing mercenary leaders. BRICS expands membership to Argentina, Egypt, 4 other nations. Nigeria still consulting, says Shatima. Former U.S. President Donald Trump surrenders to authorities in Georgia over election charges, granted bail. Today is the 26th of August, 2023, coinciding with the 9th day of Safar, second month in the Islamic calendar, the year 1445 AH. It's a beautiful morning on this side. I do hope it's the same on your side. Dr. OLUBUNMI, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, AMINAT, and it's a pleasure to be here again.
Alhamdulillah. Let's get cracking. So the first one that I think I loved is the, I guess, Diezani, my belly do hey, Diezani one. Let's roll with that first. I mean, it's been long coming. That freezing of assets is the icing on the cake for me.
Well, for me, it's mixed feelings. Mixed feelings in the sense that I'm happy that one way or the other, probably, justice might prevail in Diezani's,
I like the way you're choosing your words, might.
Yeah, I'm saying might because, see, when you're dealing with the international community, nothing is certain. And a lot of times, they don't do some of these things because they have your interests at heart. Absolutely. A lot of times it's because their interests are involved. And if you're to look at it critically, you want to tell me that the UK that we know would now prosecute or would investigate Diezani for 8 years.
All along they've kept mute.
All along they kept mute. They've been mum. In fact, Nigeria initiated extradition charges against proceedings against her, and they rejected it. They did not
So all of a
release
sudden
her.
they've woken up
All of a
to
sudden, so
realize that,
that
oh, by the way, there was some embezzlement. Oh, wow.
things like that. We investigated her and things like that. So for me, I
Let's give
am
them some
not.
credit. It took them 8 years to investigate her.
That,
They wanted to
but
get
one
to the
thing,
roots
see,
of it.
that's the positive aspect of it. That they investigate before bringing up charges
They
against
didn't
you,
want
and before
to act on
charging you.
hearsays, and they don't want to act on Nigeria.
Minors that you say the issue of a hearsay. The reality is when these monies came, they knew it came. They knew where it came from, and they know quite well this is a public officer. So ordinarily, you will not tell me that the use of private jet by a public official, to us, is nothing. But to them in the UK, they know it's something. And it's not as if they just knew about, the fact that she was involved in all this, that she was buying some of this property, or that she actually acquired some of this assets, or she was bribed to actually approve some, oil contracts in Nigeria and things like that. It's not as if they are just aware. But the reality is, the question we should ask is, why are they just coming now? So that's what, to tell you that, all the resources, all these monies that you have brought, at least one way or the other, it has helped our economy. We have used it. We have, gained a lot from it. We have acquired made a lot of, profit from it and things like that. So if probably we now decide that, okay, at least let's pity Nigeria a little bit. At least for the new president is really to play the game with us. Let's also play along with him and at least show that gesture that, we are ready to support you and things like that. So at least by the time probably use this as a bait, let's give them this. Let's tell them that, even your designing will help her. Will help you to probably, prosecute her and things like that, and we'll be able to repatriate some of these, stolen funds. One way or another. So if you come up with some of our demands, then you probably, might dance to our tune. So you never can tell. Probably that is Niger is also still there. The fact that you're talking about a Europe that depends largely on France for its energy needs, and France uses nuclear power plants. And the raw materials for it is actually coming from Niger. You never can tell. I don't trust these guys, 100%. But one thing I credit them for the fact that they don't come after you if they don't have enough evidence to actually nail you. That's one thing I know for them. At least we have known that so many cases that probably have failed, in our judicial system here. Actually, some of those people, Alamensia case, like James Ibori case, so many of them like that.
And Bros Ekweremadu.
Ekweremadu, all these people ordinarily do have to be in Nigeria.
It will be a walk away. They walk away and get a pat on the back.
Let me tell you, Ojo Zokalu was left off the hook.
We're celebrating him. He wasn't just left off the hook. We celebrate him.
He became the chief people. Come on, goodness. But that's just to tell you that. Look at what we are doing with our current, the suspended CBN governor. We arrested him. We're now looking for, charges. We're looking for evidence. We're looking for all that.
Look at today, pick
another one. Look at the case of Bawa. Bawa has been in jail for over 70 days. He has not been charged for one offense like this. 70 days. What else do you want to tell me about unconstitutionality beyond that? That you're holding someone without bringing charges against that person. I want to force him to write a statement, and he says, I'm not writing anything because you've not come up with anything against me. Now, you have a Bawa in jail and you have a Matawale, as a minister. So, is that not the irony of all these things? So, when, the accuser now becomes the accused, when the hunter becomes the hunted, that's one thing that I respect, about the judicial system in the United Kingdom. And it's a case of, that they know this, and I think for African leaders and some of these, third world nations, that you think those places are actually safe havens. Yeah, they would be safe havens for as long as you continue to bring your resources. Absolutely. But then, whenever they will actually want to come against you, they come against you very, very hard. You are not one of them, and you can never be one of them. So it's a case of, bring it on. Don't worry, you would take it because we need it to actually run our economy. But by the time it gets here, we use it, we profit from it, and at the end of the day, we'll still come against you. So, it doesn't pay you. Imagine such an amount of money actually retained here in Nigeria's economy. Do you know the number of people that would have been employed with the retention of such an amount of money? Look at the number of assets. Then you also look at, this excessive quest for materialism. Please, where are we going with all these things? You just can't imagine one individual having over 80 houses.
Investment, perhaps.
What kind of investment? Where are you going with all that?
Let's move on to Tinubu's...
Even the billionaires of this world, that in dollars, actually don't have such a number of houses. For goodness sake.
Trying to secure the life and destiny of the generations to come.
Generations
Tinubu has
that you don't know.
redeployed Oyetola and some others, and he's appointed. So the Niger Delta Ministry was missing. We talked about it last week,
Yes.
and he heard you. He listened, he heard, and he's acted. So he's created the Niger Delta Ministry, and he's put someone there. So what's with this reshuffling? They've not even started work.
No. Some
They're
have
not
started.
reshuffling.
No, some have started. You know,
Well,
there
how
was this
many hours
criticism.
into the work and then the
No.
shuffling?
In fact, the work did not start before the reshufflement came. Actually, it didn't start. They were inaugurated on Monday.
Yes,
the
with
reshufflement came on Sunday.
Yeah, so but
Ahead
names
of
have
the
been
inauguration
announced
with the portfolios.
Yes, we've talked
Now,
about the portfolios.
see,
on
the
Saturday,
reality
then-
is that you see, you can't imagine that an Abubakar Mamman that is now the Niger Delta minister. You are talking about a 62, 63-year-old man being the minister of youth. You know, you can imagine a whole lot of knocks that came, you know, on the government. That can you imagine? When we are putting grandfathers as ministers of youth,
so that they can
you know,
guide the
the
youth, so that they
youth
can,
to lead them, you know,
teach you how to
I
grow.
hope it is not to lead them astray, you know. But then, eventually, what we had was a station where there was a reshufflement, and the Abubakar Momo was actually taken to Niger Delta Ministry, redeployed from the Ministry of Youth. Until now, we actually don't have a Minister of Youth. And unfortunately, well, coincidentally, you have candidates. See, there are so many candidates. See,
Dr. Z, our current speaker.
Have you not seen the jostling for that position? Are you not aware of the jostling for that position? Do you know there are some youths that are actually pushing for the appointment of Sheikh Tinubu as Minister of Youth?
Oh, wow.
Yes. We also have some APC youths pushing for Dayo Israel, the APC youth leader, to actually be made Minister of Youth. Then we also have some other sets of people, especially those from the southeast, pushing for, you know, Pastor Dr. Nicholas Felix to be appointed as Minister of Youth. Now, a lot of us might not remember Nicholas Felix. Nicholas Felix was that youth, you know, that contested the one of those that contested the primary of in the APC presidential ticket. And eventually was one that actually stepped down for Shibadu. Probably if you watch, you know, the primary. He was the only one that actually stepped down for Shibadu. You know, while others were actually stepping down for Ashwaju. So he decided, okay, fine. I've looked at this and that. So he decided to step down for, you know, Oshibaju. And was part of the APC presidential
all
campaign
the
council.
You've mentioned that, guys. I'm pushing for a female minister for youth.
We already have
baby.
Dr. Betta Edu. We have Uju Hane.
It's not complete without
we have
Aziza
Dr.
Isha.
Doris.
Honestly, she so fits that role perfectly. She's
And
the
the
current
reality is
speaker, Madam Speaker of the National Youth Parliament.
Youth Parliament. The
Yes.
reality is this. And this speaks to a lot of us that call ourselves youth. Sometimes when I talk about some of these things, I talk about, you know, I spoke, you know, at length with my students, you know,
you can
2
start
days ago.
mentioning Aziza constantly.
Now,
because
see, the thing
President
is,
heard you about Niger Delta.
Yeah.
Maybe he will hear me now about
Now, the
Aziza.
question I would probably, because you're advocating, you know, that she should be appointed.
Yeah.
The question I would ask you is, what role did she play, for instance, during the electioneering, you know, season?
She's a grassroots person. She's the one that organizes door-to-door campaigns on your power, your vote is your power.
Now, the reality is, it's not just about your vote is your power. As far as the
A
ruling
lot
party
of
is
clinics.
concerned,
She has a constitution lab teaching you about your constitution, telling you your rights.
Madam, we are talking about election victory now.
Okay.
Now, did she play any role in the emergence?
She delivered her everywhere she was connected, so she delivered, and she delivered on this Madam, our former governor, deputy governor. What's her name now?
Idiat Adebule. Probably then she should have gone back to Idiat Adebule. Probably if Idiat can actually push for her. Because the reality is this. See, a lot of us, my people say something that you actually did not work in the kitchen and you want to eat from the kitchen.
No, she's.
No. See,
Yeah, no, but
it's a function of you'd work, then you get the benefit. You want to sow where you want to reap where you did not sow. And that is the unfortunate thing about a lot of us. Especially for those that say, hey, we want technocrats. The reality is this. Technocrats did not win election for these political parties.
And they were not even concerned.
You were not concerned. A lot of you probably did not even participate.
They were sat in their
homes, you were like, you had this like a bicycle attitude. You say, don't mind them. It's nonsensical. It's a dirty game. Now, you also talk about the fact that there are some people that actually work for the victory of these people. They played significant roles. They spent their money, their time, their energy. They mobilized the people and a whole lot of things like that. So when it now comes, politics is a career, whether you like it or not. So that is the career some people have chosen, and they're working in that direction. And it's not as if I'm satisfied with the condition, but I'm just being realistic with myself. That some people worked for me, and at the end of the day, when it's time to probably give out the dividends of democracy, I probably jettison them. You think that when it comes to the next election, I will be able to go back to them?
You will, because you did it with your own, heart and soul, and you did it for
okay.
for the love.
Don't worry. The love would also deliver for you. So now, see, that's the reality. Because when I talk about that, politics does not make me a less technocrat than someone probably who is apolitical. So what we are trying to say is that as much as, yes, we need to objectivity. A person like me, I actually don't belong to any political party, so I might really not push for the fact that, okay, I should be appointed for anything. But the reality is that I should not say, for those that are now being appointed and probably who played active role in the emergence of the president or whoever that wins in an election, that, such people should not be appointed. No. Especially for the fact that if you look at their credentials, they actually merit, such appointment. Then you really cannot take that away from such people.
True.
And that I'm a technocrat does not mean I should also not take, active participation in politics, so that at least I can get the best for the people.
I agree.
So one way or the other, let us look at it from that direction. So in this case now, we now have this new cabinet minister. And I think beyond the fact that, yes, they've been inaugurated, our role as citizens is for us to actually play the opposition now, because we actually don't have a viral opposition at the moment. So let the people be the opposition. Let us be the watchdog of these people. That is not the end of democracy. Democracy does not stop at elections. It also, continues till these people are inaugurated.
It's a marathon,
and they work.
isn't
It's a
it?
marathon.
It's
It's a cycle.
It's
Because
continuous.
every year, every 4 years, we actually come back. They come back to us. So it's a function of how well have they performed. And in this case, some of these people, you see, and Oyetola have been now redeployed to as minister of blue economy, what have you, marine and blue economy. Then you have Bumi Ojo taken to Minister of State, Minister of Interior, and some other ones like that. Then you also have the fact that both the Minister of State for Gas and Minister of State for Oil have actually now been deployed as Ministers of State, two Ministers of State in that Ministry of Petroleum Resources. So one way or the other, at least I know the agitations of the Niger Deltans have actually been listened to. One way or the other, someone said something, and I'm beginning to feel that it's a bit true that this government, one way or the other, has a listening ear. So for that fact, I want Nigerians to actually use that as an opportunity. Please don't let us keep quiet for anything that we see probably being done by this government that will probably feel dissatisfied with.
Soros,
okay. Please let your voices be heard.
Indeed.
Let your voices be heard.
Speaking of voices heard, I'm kind of convinced now that president is listening to you live and direct, and I tell you why. You spoke about the refinery, you grumbled about the reason, all the postponement and all of that, and he's reassuring you that the refinery will be out in December. It will be ready. He gave you this commitment. He's further reassuring that the Port Harcourt one will be delivered by December.
The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Heineken Lokobiri, was at the Port Harcourt refinery yesterday. Site inspection, at least first-hand assessment of the progress of work actually being done there. If you recollect that since 2001, the contract for the repairs of the Port Harcourt refinery, $1.5 billion, has actually been awarded, and were promised that to be ready for December 2022. But then they did not meet up. So one way or the other, we know also probably, I don't want to believe because of the excuses given that, the electionary campaigns and the, stoppage of work because of elections and things like that. But let us even, cut them some slack and assume that, yeah, fine, it is. So we would hold them by their words. That's for me. And I think that is the most critical thing. And for us as, citizens, let us be guards. Let us maintain our guard. Let us not, let down our guards as far as, watching out for the actions of these people. Now they have promised us. Now, so we heard from the presidency. Actually, Ajuri Gilali came out to say that that's the assurance we had from the president that it will actually be ready. If I was even saying that it will be ready before December. Now we have a minister. So I will probably lower my expectation on the basis of what Ajuri said, and I'll probably put my money on the minister of state now, because that's his own responsibility. Timmy Silva failed us. I hope Lokobiri will not fail us, because coincidentally they're actually from the same state.
Absolutely.
Now that he is there, so he went there and he said he would actually be visiting all these refineries that we have in the country. That he has gone to Port Harcourt, he would go to Warri, he would go to Kaduna. I would also visit even the Dangote refinery to see the progress of work. And it feels that by the time all these refineries are actually ready, said we have probably a timeline of between now and February 2024. That probably by that 2024 February, Nigeria would actually have no business importing fuel.
That said, in your opinion, when should we start to make noise? When should we start to source? Okay, at what timeline should we look at? If they've promised December, by what time should we see that indeed the December date is a reality?
Towards Christmas. Because at least we expect that by that time
they've done inauguration.
Yeah,
that should be our good night.
Yes, at least or probably just say let's give the whole of December. So by January, let that be the New Year gift. The government will give to Nigerians.
We wish them well. We'll pray for them. Let's move to the helicopter crash. So it's we're convinced now it was an attack on the helicopter.
No, we're not convinced. We really cannot be convinced because see, it's not a product of investigation to say
They
probably it was an attack.
Okay.
But then, see, what the reality is that there was a crash.
Yes, there was.
And there were victims.
22 soldiers laid to rest.
22 soldiers laid to rest. There are actually 36 of them in all that eventually died. And so, but 22 were actually laid to rest, during the week. And I love the fact that at that funeral, the CDS was there. General Christopher Musa, and he vowed that they will actually go after the attackers of these soldiers. And that, see, for me, it's one of those things, and to a large extent, we must continue to give credit to our security forces. One way or the other, they are paying the ultimate sacrifice just to actually make us safe. So one way or the other, what we can do for them, pray for them, appreciate them, and actually, honor them. And I think as part of the ways by which we can actually honor the memories of those that have departed is actually go after these attackers. And that is why I will not subscribe to any idea by anybody from any quarters to say that sitting to dialogue with these marauders, with these killers, these terrorists. See, let us call them by who they are. This idea, even giving them the name bandits. It's no. I think it's not appropriate because we're actually trying to paint a very grim and very bad picture in a subtle way.
Colors.
No. That's no. I don't accept that. See, these guys are terrorists, and terrorists don't deserve to live. Someone who feels that other people have must die, then they actually don't have any business living. And I think the same way, because that was the same thing Erifai actually recommended, but then the former president was like, there are people, let's just calm down and things like that. See, these guys really, because they are profiting from these things. If you actually know the fact that, see, what is actually going on, it goes beyond just the issue of security thing. We are also talking about illegal mining of natural resources, and that is at the center of some of these action, this banditry. That is what is happening. And it also has that's the crux of the matter. It also has international dimensions. So you have the fact that, say, France is involved, we have China is involved. Because, yes, see, a lot of these people, when they exploit these resources, where do they go to? These are the places where the points of destination. So you would see quite well that is why when the former president implemented a no-fly zone, that was what happened. The reaction. You also have some of these bandits, actually. Some of them actually came from Niger.
Yes, we know.
And we also had the collaboration by the governors of some of these regions. So they are the ones that will always say that let us, dialogue with them. Let us give them cars. Imagine giving terrorists, bandits, Hilux vehicles.
To ease their movement.
God bless you. So what are we saying?
No, don't quote me, please. Let's move to Abuja very quickly. The collapsed plaza. So when the building collapsed, the Honorable Minister for the FCT immediately requested or ordered the arrest of the landlord of that property.
Yeah, because from information it was actually gathered that there had been cracks in that building before it eventually caved in. That's one. Then number two is the fact that that area actually had a whole lot of structures that are illegal because the minister came out to say that that structure actually had no approval.
Wow.
And when he came in, he was saying that when he said that we're going to demolish structures that actually don't have approval, or structures that have not been approved by the regulatory
or the ones
authorities,
that have actually gone to build in spaces where it's designated for something else.
All right. So when he said that he was going to come hard on them, a lot of Nigerians are like, oh, he has come again, this and that. They are, already criticizing him, mocking him, attacking him on social media.
More
but the reality
actually
is
sang his praises. I saw more.
Now, the reality is that, we need sanity in this country. We must not, on the basis of, they are poor people, allow and tolerate for this lawlessness. And this is what we get when we actually allow lawlessness. That is what we get in return. You would have flooding, you have erosion, you have all these things, building collapses, when you tolerate some of this, lawlessness and corruption. Because at the end of the day, I know that I'm not supposed to build here. And if I should start building, by the time I start building, when they come, I say, just take this, overlook it. Don't worry. Don't you want to make money? You to take this and go and enjoy with your family. Let me continue with this.
Take this flat, be collecting.
Take the flat. Let me tell you, in fact, this particular one, I'll give you as this is your own allocation, so you continue to take money from me. So at the end of anytime they want to raise dust, you just say, take off the file from, the records that, this one has already been approved or something. In fact, it will just go missing. So they will not be able to actually, reckon with us and things like that. These are things that have been going on.
Okay.
And he said we will not longer tolerate that. So he ordered for their arrest. And at the end of the day, he also promised that they will actually conduct integrity tests around the remaining buildings. So, and a whole lot of the buildings in that area actually really, even from the look, quite well that these ones really are disasters waiting to happen. So we hope that the government will actually do the needful. So we need to be proactive rather than actually being reactive. So, and in this case, I'll give the minister the kudos. And probably, just related to, because we are talking about the minister of, the FCT now. One thing that struck me, that was when he was actually speaking with the directors of the ministry. I was telling them that, see, FCDA, FCTA.
Yes, I was just going to go to that, the rehabilitation of the light rail.
Yes, because at the end of the day, he looked at it that, why has this rehabilitation stopped? Because at the end of the light rail project, that's actually supposed to ease transportation in the Federal Capital Territory, has actually been abandoned for many years, since 2020.
No, it was the COVID, and we forgot to go back to it.
The reality is, monies have been paid, or monies have been allocated, probably, or have been approved, but, we actually didn't get much
the COVID
of it.
really took our attention
so better, truly, some of these things actually affected. And since then till now, about 4 years, nothing was done, and nobody actually said anything.
So when he came, the minister was thinking about saying something.
Mohammed Bello, leave that one. See, they've gone. See, he and his boss, they've gone. So let's just leave them. See, we cannot continue to dwell in the past. Let's face the future, and the future is here now.
So he's giving them an ultimatum. He's giving them 8 months.
See, that is the kind of action. See, you might hate or like Wike. He would surely deliver for you when you give him the green light. And this is something that, see, Mr. Contractor, I give you this contract, you must deliver for me. That is my own. Else, we revoke it and you return my money.
Of course.
That is, see, if all government agencies and officials who award contracts to some of these, companies do that, we won't have cases of abandoned projects. And he said all the encumbrances that could probably stop the completion of that rehabilitation, he will take it off. If it has to do with money, he would ensure that the money is released to them. So that this project must be delivered on schedule. And he said that by April 2024, these are parts of the project that he will present to the president for,
opening ceremony
for, inauguration.
Yeah.
So that is kind of things that, and he said, see, wahala don't come. See, I'm your nightmare. See, and because let me tell
someone
you,
that can get up in the middle of the night and just drive to a site and say,
yes,
I was there physically.
See,
action.
You call yourself a director and you are not doing your job. It's better you resign now. And he's telling them, see, because you look at it, see, the civil service is actually the engine room of any government. But the truth is,
the most corrupt, unfortunately.
That is the unfortunate part of it.
Unfortunately,
it is the engine room, and at the same time, it's actually the bottleneck, it's the problem itself of the government.
Yeah.
So it depends on those who are now in charge. And for a person like the minister of, the FCT, and I saw a similar action actually being playing out by the minister of works. Senator Dave Umahi. He's an engineer.
Yes.
He's also going around.
Yes.
And he's telling the contractor, see, let me tell you, don't tell me you for road projects again, you'll be using asphalt. See, if you are even using asphalt, I will not even give you contract again. Said, you must be using concrete. If I thought you use asphalt, you only use just as an overlay for this road project. And you must give me project that would last 50 years.
I saw that.
See, that is the way to go. And we need this kind. I just hope it is not initial gragra. Because for me,
pray that
I don't
they don't get burnt out. We pray they don't get burnt out.
Naturally.
I think the C&C wouldn't let them burn out. They won't have that burnout because of who's in charge.
I hope so. Yeah, because that's the kind of person that he is. I hope so.
He's also an action person.
And that kind of person. If I even said that, you see, please, my people, vote out governors that actually don't deliver.
Yes.
So that is the kind of action that we want from the government. And I feel that by the time we get these kinds of action from the government at the center, it will trickle down.
It will go around.
Because for me, like I always say, please, the people, be the watchdog over these government officials. Let us be the watchdog. We don't have opposition to say we are the opposition. So it is our responsibility. Let us fulfill that.
Like I think it was a few weeks back, maybe 3 or 4 weeks now, when we said every single citizen should have access to their House of Rep.
Yes,
and have their direct contact, so you can actually
put that pressure on them.
Do your job. Everybody, all hands on deck.
Like so a lot of people are remarking that even the governor of Lagos says actually don't stay in Lagos anymore.
Is it in Abuja? Where is it?
Oh well. See whether that is true or not.
Quick one.
But the reality is
a quick
just
digression.
that.
Where is BRF? I miss him.
I see BRF has already told us that he's actually going on break.
Yes, I thought. And
the reality is, I saw something on him during the week. It was actually, giving talks to cabinet members.
So he's doing Council of Elders. He's the leading
Council of Elders. Capacity building. Capacity building. See, the truth is, he was actually talking to cabinet members in Abia State. Remember, Abia State is actually Labour Party.
Yeah.
So Labour Party and the governor, Alex Oti, invited Fashola to speak with the people there and to speak to the cabinet members on governance and things like that. Those are the kinds of things that Fashola has been doing. He did the same to cabinet members in Anambra State.
Yeah.
So that is playing leadership. That I don't have to occupy this public office to know what is actually going on and to probably give back to my people. And for the fact that he's able to do that, I think that's very, very much remarkable of him. And that I think is better. If he feels that, and to him, please, he deserves his rest. Said, I have served the people for 20 years, uninterrupted.
He has great. In fact, the move from Lagos to Abuja, he lost pounds of flesh.
Seriously. This was someone that served chief of staff for 4 years, a governor for 8 years, and a minister for another 8 years. Allow him his break. And it's a well-deserved break.
Okay.
So, but then, the truth of the matter is, people will remember you. He's not dead, and we are still remembering him. We are able to remember because of the good things that he was able to achieve. He delivered on the mandate given to him at the different levels that he actually operated from.
Yeah.
So, and I think for those that are actually occupying public offices today, you have an example in a person like that to learn from. So that at the end of the day, the people would always remember you. Yeah. For what you're able to achieve. So
this railway vandalism, what's the real truth about it? So I saw the news and I heard that it was the scraps that they didn't go to pick them from the railway tracks. They were the abandoned. I mean, that's the story flying around, that it was just scraps. It was things that were condemned, the ones that were removed and replaced. That's what these guys were cutting away. Yes, it's worth ₦1 billion. However, they didn't steal from the.
Well,
don't misquote me or don't get me wrong. I'm not supporting anything. I'm just saying what's the exact truth.
I understand.
Did they go to take it off?
The truth of the matter is,
what was Because quick one. So my theory is this: the people, the contractors removed things that were still functional just so that they can take it away and use for their personal whatever. That's the theory. And so it's not as if these thieves that were caught went to the rail tracks to vandalize the rail tracks. That's what happened. It went to wherever warehouse these scraps were being stored and went to carry it away from there. Or they went and actually vandalized the rail tracks, just like they are doing to the Second Niger Bridge, already picking the steel and removing stuffs. Yes, so that's...
Now, first we must realize that when we talk about railway vandalism, we have rail tracks across the Federation.
Yeah.
That we have some spots inactive does not give anyone the right to actually go and vandalize those tracks, remove some of the steel or iron metals and things like that for sale. The question would have been, to what end? They'll melt it and sell, right, and make money. Our national wealth, our national assets. See, whether whether it was stolen from the warehouse where it is stored,
or directly vandalized from
the rail tracks, it is a crime.
It's absolutely true.
And they won't persist in that business if there is no market for it.
Absolutely true.
Again, is the fact that how well do we pay attention to these assets? And I think at this juncture, these rail tracks should be declared by the National Assembly as critical national assets.
That needs to be protected.
And if at all there are repair works, the legislation will take care of all those aspects. And for those guys that have been arrested, let them have their day in court. Let them go and prove their innocence in court.
Okay.
It's not for me to say, oh, they took it from the warehouse. Were they allowed to take them? That's one. The number two is, go and look at different rail tracks. Even the Lagos Ibadan, different ones. People go there to actually pick and remove some of these things there.
And every time you do, you don't even understand that you can be liable to causing harm and injury to another person because the train could derail.
The reality is,
how selfish and evil
we all
can
worship money, and we are so selfish that we don't care even if that will be responsible for the death of many innocent lives. So far, I'm able to smile to the banks. And that is why I see that
just like the guy that stole 60 buckets of paint, emptied the paint, and sold the plastic for 1,000 naira. Just threw away millions of naira just because of the 60,000 naira that you wanted. Because all that mattered to you is the buckets. You couldn't care less about the paint because you don't even know what it is, and you can't be bothered about what it's used for. So it was the same thing. These guys want to just make money from selling steel. God bless you.
That is what we are talking about. It's the same mentality. So far, I'm able to smile to the back. I'm able to make my money. I don't care what effect it is. It's the same thing. It speaks to those who also, for instance, would mix red oil, palm oil that we consume with chemicals that will make it look red. You bring all sorts of chemicals together just because of the fact that it will look red. You mix it with the original oil so that the volume would increase, and you sell that, and people will continue to get cancer. They get all forms of ailments.
And the same people using acid to fry groundnuts and all sorts.
All sorts. It's all about the fact that so far,
it's just the money.
It's the selfishness and this excessive quest for materialism, money at all costs. See, that is what drives it.
At any cost, actually.
No matter how we paint it, it's very, very bad. It's terrible. It's heartless for anyone to actually come up with such things. And we should not in any way, glamorize such actions. See, any decision, any action of the government that will, punish some of these offenders, to me is welcome. And I think that for that unfortunate thing, beyond the fact that it made the headlines, we don't usually get to know what because of all those people.
Just like we don't know what has happened to the people that vandalized the Second Niger Bridge.
Seriously?
It's gone dead. The news is dead.
It's just like that. We just flash and that is the end of it. That's why I feel that, we really need to reform the judiciary. See, our criminal justice system in this country is dead. It's dead. And justice delayed is justice denied.
The current Minister of Justice, any hope from that quarters that things will turn around?
See, the truth of the matter is, some of these things, for them to work effectively,
Mm.
there'll be need for constitutional amendments and some other things like that. And I actually didn't get that from the minister. But I know quite well, and to this, I need to give kudos to the NBA.
Mm.
The NBA, is engaging seriously with the government, with the minister, with the president, and they are coming up with a conference very soon. And they said these are some of the engagement that, see, these are the areas that we think we really need reforms. Imagine a Supreme Court judge going home with say 700,000 naira salary monthly, and you want such a person
To deliver.
and
when his counterpart in
the National Assembly are going on with 29 million naira monthly, and you don't want them to compromise justice, and they have backlog of cases they need to attend to, and that's why you have cases that will pen for years in court. Look at the rate. See, Ekwuremadu's case did not last up to a year before he was convicted and sentenced. Now look at our own case. We'll have a case that will drag 5, 6, 7 years. And then the person will
awaiting
go to
trial.
awaiting
So
trial.
He's
He has
rotting
even
away,
spent
and then
more
he comes
than
out and finds out he's innocent, but he's been rotting away for 6 years.
So, see, what are we talking about here? So we really need to look at that. And it's unfortunate that then when Keyamo came in 2019, when he came for a ministerial screening, he suggested something, but it actually did not happen. That we actually, for instance, need to actually break down our Supreme Court system. The same way I've been able to do to the appeal court, we can also do the same for Supreme Court. Probably, for instance, we can have regional Supreme Courts.
You said that sometimes.
So at the end of the day, imagine probably the rate that we'll be able to speed up, increasing the number of judges that we have on the bench.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, some of these things we really need to look at the critical, because we have police even prosecuting. If a lot of times it's a case of bring money, we'll drop the prosecution, we won't prosecute you. That is what has been happening a lot of times. So at the end of the day, so for me, I think that it should not just look at money. Let's also look at the implication of what we are doing. Someone goes to the bridge and cuts the rails. That is meant to actually prevent cars from actually, tipping over or, into the lagoon. Probably when
so from what I hear you say that our conscience, we need to start to work on our conscience.
That's one. Then number two is also that for the government, I think we need to go beyond just arresting these offenders. We need to take it a step further. Who are those that buy from them?
Okay, so it's the whole net.
Yes,
throw the net wider.
It's a cycle.
Bring everybody in.
It's a cycle. It's an industry. Some get it, some buy it, some weigh it, they deliver, and some they mine it and things like that. See, it's a whole system. So the next thing is, you give them the marching orders. When next any portion of our critical national assets is vandalized,
we're coming for you. Because we now have you in our
dragnet.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Right, let's look at COVID-19 variants that is peeping at the borders of Nigeria, and so the NMA is tightening the secure screening at the airports.
You see, for MMA, the military man, because that's the business airport that we have in Nigeria, actually. I also look at the fact that we learned that there is a new variant of COVID-19 now, currently in fact going on in Israel. Right. And we're afraid that, Nigeria, anything goes.
Absolutely.
So, and for the fact that easily people can come in and they spread it, being a contagious disease, looking at the experience that we had 2020, 2021 up to 2022, I'm sure we'll not want a repeat of that. So for that reason, a lot of Nigerians, we have moved on normally. We feel like, it's the rich man's
believe it or not, some still think it was
all is calm. Yeah, COVID.
Nobody really died of COVID.
The truth of the matter is, the only thing is, for me, being a religious person, I thank God that with the way COVID came, imagine if it had been a poor man's disease. Our rich men would not bother about, us. But unfortunately, when COVID came,
it was a thing for everybody.
No, my people would say that God has his own way of taking care of the cow without a tail. See, when COVID came, most of its victims were actually the well-to-do people. I don't travel, so I don't have any business traveling. But some people, they can't do without traveling. But COVID made all of us the same.
It was a level.
It was a leveler. My people would say, Ojo toka elepo madie. An adie like me, now sharing the same Nigeria at that period, same lockdown, with an ALA that a pigeon that would have flown away. All of us were now like same birds, staying on the ground. Nobody can fly. We are all in the same cage. So that was what COVID did. So, but minus that, see, there are some businesses till now they've not been able to recover from the effects of COVID.
Absolutely.
Economically, Nigeria has not recovered. And so for that reason, so if many countries,
let's not single out
even
Nigeria.
China,
Yes, a lot
even
of
China,
a lot of economies
even
are
the
still
US,
suffering.
even the US,
And
because I see some people that ever since they started this work from home thing, it's never been the same again. Let me tell you, you cannot divorce what happened, the COVID, from what eventually became of Twitter. Yeah. So there are so many businesses like that. So I think that we really need to be watchful. We need to be very careful. We need to be proactive. Proactive is the word now. And I think, well, let us praise MMA for that proactivity. And we hope that they would keep that. I would not just be for the news, say we are doing this. You know, Nigeria, we are doing it. That is what we'll continue to say until it eventually happens. So we hope that we would remain, very careful. We remain watchful, we'll be on our guards. And at the end of the day, we'll screen people properly. It won't be a case of take this money for the boys and you allow people to go without screening them properly.
So let's go to Delta State very quickly. And the troops destroyed an illegal refinery in Delta State.
See, it was massive. It was massive. The particular site was around Warri, in Delta State. And that particular site, you had about 200,000 liters of stolen crude and 90,000 liters of diesel, being stored in the reservoir on that site. And you have 14 active ovens being used for this, illegal refining at that site. The operators of the site fled when they saw the security men. So they were unable to apprehend them. And that's why I decided that we just have to destroy this. Imagine the effect on our ecosystem. Imagine the effect of such products actually finding its way to the market.
So when you said destroy, that's why I'm glad you mentioned our ecosystem, and that's what my mind is going to the environmental pollution that would have occurred from that destruction.
The truth of the matter is, even without the destruction, the environmental pollution is there.
Yes, it was already there.
So, but then you're also talking about the economic sabotage. Because at the end of the day, if it's a case of, okay, we are refining, but we are using crude methods to refine. But then we're actually buying.
I mean, think about it. We are refining crude, so we are not using crude method to refine crude. Come on.
Okay, indigenous technology. But the reality is the economic sabotage. Because these guys will not get this crude from the right sources. Most likely they actually tap a particular pipeline. And at the end of the day, what would happen? See, what they eventually get to refine is very, very small compared to the amount that actually gets wasted from the tapping. And at the end of the day, you are destroying farmlands, you are destroying the ecosystem, you are destroying waters. And at the end of the day, what happens? Some people just smile to the banks. And eventually, probably some of this.
Again, back to the selfishness we're talking about. Same guys with illegal.
Because imagine if an innocent me, for instance, probably, okay, I need diesel to operate a generator that is used, probably look at a media house like this, or probably a factory, and we decide to probably get a generator at least to be able to power the factory for our production line. And at the end of the day, we get to buy diesel, hoping that it's from the right source and things like that, and I use it on my machine and it destroys my generator. Look at the effect on my business. So it still speaks to this selfishness of a thing. Where is that passion? Where is that patriotism?
So this illegal refinery guy, this railway vandal, it's not different from this guy that just emptied the bucket of paint. They're all the same.
You see, it's all the same.
Same.
It's all about money at all costs, regardless of the effects on the people.
Right, so this UAE issue that is lingering, it's quite embarrassing. So the president has directed immediate resolution.
Yeah, the president gave the order when he actually met with the new ambassador of UAE to Nigeria, and he felt that, see, the kind of relationship that Nigeria and UAE has had is something that this idea of inability to repatriate, their funds trapped here in Nigeria. And you remember that we talk about the Emirates airline, and is the biggest, Middle East operator operating, in Nigeria. And at the end of the day, they've been having, a running battle with the CBN in trying to repatriate their funds. And at the end of the day, that's actually made, flights, more expensive. Because at the end of the day, they tell you, so you pay in dollars, you actually don't pay in Naira. And that's, puts a whole lot of pressure. That's part of the pressure that we actually have on the Naira. So ordinarily, Nigerians ought to be buying their tickets in Naira, hoping that with the exchange rate and with the agreement they have with the CBN, by the time they've been able to make their money, by the time they want to probably repatriate some of their profit to their home country, they can do that in dollars. And the CBN will make the dollars available. But eventually, what do you get to see? That their funds get trapped here. They can't, because they don't use Naira in UAE. So they cannot operate, they cannot, get their money back from our economy. So at the end of the day, you have that there. I also have a situation where Nigerians are actually not being granted visa because your trouble is too much.
I mean,
a whole lot of Nigerians.
We had those videos that were flying around then. Was it called clash or just unrest by youth on the streets of was it Abu Dhabi or so we've had series of
we have Nigerians
of
also denigrating this country, feeling that we are here now, we can cause wahala, we can do anything, we can do and undo. Is it not the same UAE where we had Woodbury and Hush people being caught? See, what we are talking about is the fact that.
And even the fact that there was an issue with the visa. Then there was a caveat: you have to be a certain age to travel alone unaccompanied. If you're younger than that, you have to be accompanied. And people
always abuse all these
so
things. We feel that the same lawlessness that we perpetrate in Nigeria would be the same every other place.
Shove it down other people's throats.
It doesn't work that way. And at the end of the day, you feel that you're actually not adding value to our economy. You're not adding value to our country. You're actually denigrating. In fact, some crimes that probably our people don't know before you're introducing them to it. So at the end of the day, probably just blacklist us. And that is what the president is trying to avoid. Because we know quite well that, a lot of Nigerians have their investment in the UAE. And economically speaking, a lot of Nigerians actually go there to buy things and bring here and they sell and things like that. So the bilateral relations is something that is very, very strong. And you would not want to actually, have such a very terrible relationship with your business partners. And I think trying to settle that is noteworthy and commendable on the part of the president. I will hope that he'll be able to walk his talk, that these things will be resolved and be able to move forward.
So on the appeal courts, Labour Party drama, Apapa and co and back and forth, and so now INEC has ordered.
INEC has been ordered.
INEC is they've been ordered to recognize the candidates presented by the
because there was this contradictory judgment that came from the appeal court. One appeal court in Edo State affirmed Julius Abure as national chairman. Then some days after,
now who will Edo State give? Abure, of course.
He's a citizen of Edo State. My person. Okay, our indigenous, our son of the soil. Well, if that is what we now turn judiciary too. But then no, it's actually not about that. See, the reality
just
is
joking.
I understand. I know.
My name is Ivie. In case you didn't know, now you know. There you go.
Okay, good. Now the thing there is the appeal court. The ruling of the appeal court in Edo State was actually on the suspension of Abure by his ward in Edo State. That was when the trouble started.
Yeah.
So they suspended him.
Yes.
And they said the ward excos really don't have the authority, the power to suspend a national officer. So on that basis, that was quashed. So it was on the basis of that the appeal court affirmed him as the national chairman of the Labour Party. However, the one in Owerri was actually ruling on the basis of two cases now. One, the fact that Julius Abure was suspended by an FCT High Court. Okay. The issue on criminal charges of forgery, embezzlement and things like that. It was on that basis that he was suspended as national chairman.
Okay.
And when he was suspended, Apapa took control of the party.
Yeah.
And As at then, he said he assumed position of national chairman. Abure was still parading himself as national chairman.
Right.
So that was why the case also went to court that, see, apart from the criminal charges, you have been suspended. So you cannot continue to parade yourself as national chairman.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Abure went ahead to actually set up a committee that conducted primaries for governorship candidates in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states. Whereas Lamidi Apapa also inaugurated another committee that conducted a parallel primary. The following day, the Abure faction held its primary April 15. Apapa faction held its own primary April 16th. And at the end of the day, the candidates that emerged from the Abure faction were the ones INEC recognized, actually. But then, the other faction says, no, Abure does not have the power because he's under suspension.
Right.
So his faction could not have inaugurated a committee that will conduct primaries in those states. So for that reason, the INEC should not have recognized candidates presented by Abure. Coincidentally, it was the candidates of the Abure faction that went to court in order to prevent INEC from recognizing the candidates that emerged from the Apapa faction. Eventually lost out. And it was on that basis that the appeal court in Owerri, that now sat in Abuja, I said because of security, they went to Abuja to sit, and they declared that, number one, Lamidi Apapa is the authentic chairman of Labour Party, because of the fact that the order of the FCT High Court that suspended Abure on the basis of the criminal charges, the order has not been vacated by Abure or his people. That's one. Then number two is that for the fact that it was the Apapa faction that was the jury, and at the same time even the de facto chairman as of the time of the conduct of the primary of the Labour Party in Imo State. So it is the candidates from that faction that should be recognized by INEC, and not the one, because as at the time those ones conducted their primary, Abure was no longer the chairman.
So let me
so on that basis, they are saying that the court is saying yes.
The only question I want to ask you, because which of these warring parties presented our honorable Peter Obi?
Now, the thing is,
that's the everybody that is listening to us right now. All these go here, go there, speak English, speak grammar. Which of them?
Peter Obi, as at the time Peter Obi emerged as a candidate of Labour Party,
yes,
Labour Party was still like one. Let me put it and I said like one because there was still a case actually against Abure's emergence as the national chairman of the Labour Party as of the time the primary was conducted. That's case one. Case two against Peter Obi is the fact that he was not even a member of Labour Party as of the time
the register
was submitted to INEC, and that has flouted the Electoral Act. So on that basis, that he is not even recognized as a Labour Party member. And as such, does not qualify to even
moving
be
on
the flag
back
bearer.
to the
so on this note now,
Apapa.
but then Peter Obi has actually stuck his gun with Abure, and he went during the week to attend the rally organized by the in Imo State by the candidate of the Abure faction. And now Lamidi Apapa is saying, well, now court has ruled. Unfortunately, that it's a disappointment that their own presidential candidate still continues to hobnob with Abure and his illegal, so to say, faction. For me, and for some watchers who feel that if Labour Party can actually get its house in order, then is this the kind of people that we're actually looking up to probably at the helms of affairs in this country? So one way or the other, well, it's up to Labour Party to be able to sort itself and put its house in order and ensure that one way or the other, because a lot of people actually say, including a person like me, believe that Peter Obi was actually the MVP in the last election.
No, you say that every week.
And
you haven't failed to remind us of the real MVP.
The real MVP as far as that election is concerned. And to a large extent, a lot of people had a lot of expectation for Peter Obi and his party, because it was more like, okay, the new the new party in town and
new kid on the block.
So, but then unfortunately, like one of the reservations that I had with them is that someone decides to probably go to another party overnight does not make the person a new person.
It's an old wine in a new bottle.
So does it change anything? But then we're like, and a
Is
lot of the
repackaging?
obedience and abused us and things like that. So for me, I'm not saying Peter B is not a nice person, at least from his outlook and from his interaction. Like, is a new breed, is a different breed of a politician, no
Right.
doubt about that.
Right.
And I credit him for that.
But he couldn't have been he won't operate alone if he had won the seat. He would need to.
So that's
the
the
party
reality.
is
That's the reality
that's
of
the
what
real-
we're trying to tell the people. See, the 10 billion. No, what am I saying? The 100 billion that was allocated to members of the National Assembly. We also had Labour Party as members of the National Assembly.
And they collected. None of them
They
came out to
collected
decline
and
it.
they
Say, I
did
don't want
not
this
even
money.
reject it. They did
Yes,
not
I
even
don't want this
speak.
money. This is
They didn't say
atrocity
a word.
against
They
the
didn't say
Nigeria.
this is atrocious. They didn't say this is corrupt. This is
They collect and they clean
unacceptable.
mouth.
They collect, they clean mouth, and these are the people. See, and ordinarily imagine these are the people that would have actually worked with Peter Obi.
Absolutely, because they are automatic.
So you think you now get
Oh
something
well,
different
let's
from them.
cross out of Nigeria to the foreign scene. But we'll start with Africa first. The Niger Republic, it's right in our face. It's looming. I just pray it doesn't degenerate into a war. I pray that some sense of reasoning will come to the, current military junta, and they would rethink their steps of, realign with some of their ECOWAS thoughts. So anyway,
Rethink themselves, meaning they should probably
Release
resign
the-
or and hand
return-
over power to Bazoum.
I
Muhammad
didn't
Bazoum.
say with. I didn't necessarily say. It could
But
be
at
an
least they should
interim.
even release him.
Release
first.
him, grant him his freedom, give him rules and regulations. He can't leave the country and stuff like that. But let him be a free man once again, just for humanity's sake, and then sit at the table. Conduct the election supervised by yourselves. You can supervise the next election to bring the right.
They are talking about 3 years,
Yes,
transition
that's what
program,
they can
and that
shorten it,
was
bring
rejected.
those years,
So
really.
that was rejected by ECOWAS. Then again, is the fact that I love finally AU has spoken.
Yes, EU has
Because-
suspended them.
AU has suspended just like ECOWAS has suspended them long
Yes.
before now. That's
Yes.
true. Then number 3 is the fact that now
In
there are
ECOWAS
a lot
is
of
a small
pressures.
baby now. EU is the African Union,
Yes.
so it's
So a lot of
getting
pressure
bigger.
is on the junta now because now they're saying that Bazoum has to be released. Even the United Kingdom has said Bazoum has to be released. Then again is the fact that the president, Nigeria's president, has also dispatched another group of people. The ulama. He
sent
probably
the clerics before, and
he
they-
sent them. They spoke. He sent Abdulsalam Abubakar. Abdulsalam Abubakar came back and gave him the report. Now, I think in response to that, he sent back the ulama again. That it seems probably these people will have the ears of the ulama. And he says, because he wants to exhaust all diplomatic options.
Before
And that's what ECOWAS is saying, that we have not declared war on Niger. So far from it, because that's what a lot of people are saying. We have not declared war on Niger.
but
They
you're
were only
stylishly
saying
declaring war. You've cut
No,
off
no,
their
no, no,
night.
no, 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 no.
You do that, you
No,
do
no.
this,
See,
you do that.
That's not war.
Warning. They're just giving them warning.
That's a pressure to put pressure on them that we will not tolerate this action that you have taken. So don't go this route. If you retrace your step and you allow peace to reign, at least you allow common sense and you allow the democracy to survive in Nigeria. See, there could be issues there. Let us settle these issues on the negotiation table. Not by you saying that this guy has to go or this guy will die because this and that. See, that it won't happen. And we will not fold our hands and allow this to continue. So because of the fact that, even for the fact that you guys are there, you'll not even be able to handle this Islamists that you're claiming that it's because of that, because of insecurity and things like that. See, even in Mali, they've not been able to handle that. Same for Burkina Faso. So what excuse are you guys talking about? And for the fact that now even Wagner has actually come into being because Wagner troops, they've landed.
Yeah.
Landed
Yeah.
in Niger. And you look at it and you feel like, wow. So you think ECOWAS would fold its hands? See, it's standby force. We are on standby, waiting. Give us the green light, then we'll go. But then for now, we remain there. We are waiting and we're watching what these people
So
will do.
what really happened about the private jet that crashed?
For Yevgeny Prigozhin, well, officially, Russia has denied responsibility or culpability in the crash of that private jet. So they are saying that investigations are ongoing, and for that reason, but they have denied any involvement in probably the idea that people, different ideas have come up now, different conspiracy theories. Although for some people they feel like A Putin has only shown that I can tolerate anything. I would never tolerate, betrayal. That's one. And for the fact that he felt betrayed by Prigozhin, because ordinarily Prigozhin was a nobody. It was Putin that actually brought him to the limelight and gave him all the influence that he eventually had. That's that. But then Prigozhin too felt that at least you've been using me for all your dirty jobs. So, and for the fact that you even have your military and we are doing what your military cannot do. So, the mutiny that took place last month, that probably would have been successful, but along the line he had a change of mind when Lukashenko stepped in, the president of Belarus, and eventually that stopped. And people felt that, oh, you just killed yourself. And so they were expecting that it even lasted longer. They expected that probably Putin would have, instantly done something to him. So for some of those people, they believe that Putin is actually behind his demise. And looking at a whole lot of things that happened. Some were saying it was a missile that was fired at the private jet. Some were saying no, it was actually a wine, but it's a bomb in a wine case that was actually placed in that jet. And that eventually exploded and killed him. But even the Pentagon is coming up with another one. They said they don't believe in all those theories. They felt that if actually he was killed in that plane before the plane came down. The plane was only made to come down just to cover up for the fact that he was actually killed on board.
And so the person that killed him on board don't call.
And that would have been the question. So
the
Pentagon
survive? Did the person take parachute somewhere else? Because what he saw
anyone flying out and things like that. So all this, but unfortunately, the man is dead. That's what has been confirmed. It has been confirmed that he's dead. Some were even saying probably, that was the same way they said he died some years back, only to resurface again. But this one, Putin himself came out to say, well, he's sending condolences to their families. And that he made some mistakes and he also achieved some things. But for them, they are not behind, it. That their civil aviation authorities are actually investigating what really happened, and that we should wait for the outcome of the investigation.
Right. Before we get out of here, we'll look at the BRICS. They've expanded membership to Argentina, Egypt. So what's the new coinage? BRICS,
ordinarily BRICS, I think what they're trying to do is actually come up with
China, South Africa, India,
parallel.
Russia.
we have the G7.
Yeah. Brazil.
Yes. So we have BRICS, ordinarily Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Yeah. So those 5 nations, they formed BRICS. They've been, doing business together. They've been meeting, and they have their annual convention and things like that, annual conference. The same way you have the G7, countries of the world doing that. Said that.
So
the idea is
who is stronger, G7 BRICS? Now who get power pass in this current? I'm looking at BRICS and saying G7 go and sit down somewhere.
You can't just see. Ordinarily, you want to say, G7, yes.
It's the way things are moving now.
But then, you can, for the fact that you have China there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way things are moving now.
For the fact that you have China there, you can't displace China anyhow.
Yeah.
Displace them at your own peril.
No, but think about it now. Russia, China have not been.
It's not just Russia, China. You have India. When we talk about repatriation of funds, net factor income from abroad, the highest in the world is actually by India.
Yeah.
Because talk of all the IT companies of this world, majority of their CEOs are Indians. So they export experts to other countries, to other companies and things like that. And they are making a whole lot of money from there, from the repatriation of the money is being made. So, and for the fact that this same India just successfully launched
Yes. The 4th country to
launch, a spacecraft on the moon. Yeah. In fact, at a region no other country has successfully done. The South Pole of the moon. Now, this same India. At all.
Like how? Why you want to
India is also a nuclear power.
Say that again.
So you cannot just displace them like that.
So on top of all this matter, why is Nigeria still consulting?
Now, the thing is, many countries have actually applied to join BRICS. So
follow no road. Why are we still consulting?
So, but then, no. See, the thing is, if you understand how some of these things operate, your bilateral relations, with some other countries, some of the conditions that are attached might actually prevent you from entering into some other agreement with some other people.
True.
So you really
Normal.
need to look at it critically, and that's what the vice president said, that Nigeria is actually still concerned, because we need to look at our laws, we need to look at the
Relationships that are
agreements and
currently
relations
existing with
that are currently
other-
existing with other people. So we cannot just jump into it. And for the fact that, so we really need to understand, and some of the conditions that are attached to probably the membership. Ordinarily, for BRICS, they've approved for Argentina. They have approved for Egypt, they have approved for Saudi Arabia, they have approved for Ethiopia, and they have also approved for United Arab Emirates to join them. Yes. So, but then, so a lot of people are saying, you see now, Nigeria, they did not approve you. Said, we have not even applied to join. But he attended, because, he attended their conference and he spoke very well and represented Nigeria well at that conference. But it is to tell us that, see, what we are actually moving is actually to a and that is what Russia is also saying, that we actually need a multipolar world. We don't need a unipolar world controlled by the United States of America.
Just one just currency.
Just one currency and calling shots and things like that.
Yeah.
So that you now have some of these new members on board. Will that tilt, the economic control of the world towards the BRIC nations? It remains to be seen. So that, for us, I think is just that let's just hope that Nigeria to probably, get it heart together, so we'll not be a late comer, the same way we're late comers when it comes to African Free Continental Trade Agreement.
Absolutely. Nice place to stop today. SubhanAllah. It's been a nice time with you, Dr. OLUBUNMI. We'll see you same time next week on another package of the news reviews. Please stay tuned. We have beautiful shows ahead of us today, Saturday, on Lights Radio. Thank you so